All right, so let's look at this CodePen screenshot. Okay, great. All right, now if you notice that CodePen highlights some of the code in different colors, and that's for good reason. Now, if you notice that certain codes are in blue, all right? If you can see the codes that are in blue, type the word blue. I want to make sure everybody's following me. Okay, excellent. All right, so
Sir,
the
which
code,
screenshot are you referring to? The one that you post in the chat?
the one that Shani Phillips posted, the first one for this afternoon.
Sorry?
Yeah, the one that Shani posted, the first one for the afternoon, right in this Skype chat. Are you seeing it? Okay, so those codes that you see in blue, the blue ones are HTML tags. So the HTML tags are what you use to basically format the structure of the page. Now, there's other things that go together in web design. So you have CSS and JavaScript. The CSS will style, gives an a certain kind of appearance. The JavaScript gives its functionality. For example, you click a button that can say calculate this or buy now or do an action. So the JavaScript is actually where real programming comes in. So even though HTML uses codes, it's when you get to the JavaScript where you actually start using a type of programming language, right? But it's all codes nonetheless. And if you don't know what the codes mean, then you can't use them. All right, so for the first tag, you have there the doc type. That is telling you the kind of version that HTML is using. I don't want to go too much into that right now because we're not doing the official course right now, but just know that you need to have that in your HTML file for now. What we will focus on is from the HTML tag downwards. So the overall starting and ending point of the HTML is where you have HTML and slash HTML. Some of you might have realized by now that the tags come in two pairs, right? If you realize that the tags come in pairs, all right, just type yes. If you realize the tags come in pairs, like an opening and a closing one. This is very important. Can you hear me? Can anybody still hear me? Audio good? Okay, right. So for example, you know that there's an opening HTML and there's a closing HTML. So that is the ultimate bread of the sandwich, right? Those two go at the top and bottom, and everything else fills in between. Of course, when you add more content, then it would be pushed down, so it wouldn't be as condensed as this. For example, if you add more paragraphs, if you add some more lines of code in there, then most of the action takes place in between the body tags. So I'm skipping out the head tag deliberately. You'll keep that there for now. But most of the action takes place in the body tag. So you have an open body tag and a closing body tag. And believe me, in between the body tags, a lot of information can be stuffed in there. All right, so far we've just been using text, but of course we can add images and other things to it. All right, so what you're going to do now is I'm going to ask you to see if you can open up your CodePen. If you didn't have this code before, I paste the link in the chat area. And you're gonna paste in your CodePen, and we're gonna try to play around with it a little bit, all right? So I'll just give you about maybe 2 minutes just to copy that text and paste it in. They open a separate CodePen. If you're using just a single mobile phone, it might be easy for you to, when you click on the code, just write out what's in the body section. So you can write it on a piece of paper what's on the body section, and then you can go back to CodePen on a browser, on a Chrome browser, and you can test it out. All right, so you can do that right now.
Okay, sir. I'm using my phone to listen the session. However, I'm in front of a computer. What do I do?
Okay, great. So
I'm
what you
in
can
the
do is,
code pen.
right, so you can go to, you got the CodePen already. Are you able to access the link on the computer? We're able to share it with the computer so it'll save you the typing. That would be easy for you to do if you could do that.
Type it, because I'm at work. It's a work computer, so I'd have to type it.
Okay, all right. I was just thinking maybe you could have emailed it to yourself or something like that, but it's fine. Whatever works for you, okay? Yeah. All right, so let me see now. Um, all right, so I'm going to, oh, I can paste in the chat. Maybe that can help you. I can paste some of the code in the chat, so let me do that here in case you can, oh, but you don't have, you're not using Skype on the work computer, right? So it probably would work with the same thing, but I'll just paste it just the same. All right, so that's a little bit of a boilerplate HTML code. So it has pretty much the bare bones as possible. Just have a good filler text there to see what it looks like. I'm going to share my screen to help those who are only able to view and you're not able to type it in. All right, so let me get my code pen up. All right, let me just start sharing the screen so that we can all get a glimpse of what I'm doing. And
Well, should I in this in the section that says start coding?
right, you're gonna click start coding to jump right into it. All right, so you should be able to see my screen now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to paste it in the HTML section. All right, so we can see the results here. All right, so there's exclamation, all right. All right, so it's saying just HTML that goes in the body goes here. So that's why it was complaining earlier. Shani was asking that question, I think it was. All right, so it really doesn't want the doc type and all that kind of stuff there. So for the point, just know that for now you'll need to have that in. But for what we're gonna do is we're gonna just delete everything above just to show you what it's talking about, just the information of the body. But you would keep that in a regular file because CodePen is just a kind of a preview system, right? But it will work, but just know in the future that you would need to have those essential parts there. All right, so I took out the part above the body, which is really, and the warning went away. I mean, it still did the page just the same way, right? But I'm just showing you what was causing that, you know, why it was balling out, so to speak, for an error. All right, so that makes sense now, everybody, why it was given exclamation sign, right? Because it just wanted the body code in the HTML. I remember I did say the body is where the action takes place, right? Remember that? So if I was to add a paragraph here, let me just type something just okay, so today is Tuesday and it is getting warmer by the hour. When the summer comes around, it will be steaming. All right, so notice something here that even though I put a new line space in the, let me expand the HTML section because we're not using the CSS right now. So let me just shrink that a bit. Even though I put, if you notice here, a blank line there, it didn't put a blank line in the preview. And this is to show you that it's not treating this as Microsoft Word. We need to use codes to format the text. So if I put a P tag here, which stands for paragraph, so just we're going to introduce another tag here. Well, I put the P tag at the first paragraph, so I wouldn't see anything change. I really should put it here. So P, here we go. Now you notice that it put it in a new paragraph by itself. If you notice the change, just type yes. Okay, so that's giving an example of how the tags affect the formatting. Now you notice that the P tag does need a closing tag for it to affect one paragraph. All right, let's type another paragraph and see what would happen. I could use an ice cream cone right now. All right, so of course it does the same thing. It just taps on everything to the end, even though I put in that blank space. So if I had another p tag there, then it should put it in a new paragraph, which it does again, okay? All right, so there are several of these codes that we're going to use in this kind of style, and that's one of the ways in which we help to format the code. So we see here that we can achieve the color by using the style attribute in the tag. How do you think we could change the color of the paragraphs, all right? So that's going to be the activity right now. Let me give you 3 minutes to try to change the color of any one of the paragraphs that we have there. All right, so once again, the question is, how would you change the color of one of the paragraphs? Once you've got it, you can just do a screenshot and you can paste it in the chat. All right, so let's look at it. Now remember, we were talking about the paragraph, and as we can see here, well, we technically have 3 paragraphs, but 2 were marked with a paragraph tag. If you want to, be that much of do that much nitpicking. So what you did would have changed the color of something, but I was referring to the paragraphs that we had here. So in the paragraph element, what we would do, we'd expand this, right? When we expand it, we'll put a little space there. Okay. And then we're going to type in the style code, just like we did when we were doing a regular line of text. It probably doesn't look that much because we don't have a lot of text there, so it's not a full-out paragraph, but maybe if I added a bit more fluff there, let me add some random X's just to simulate words. Okay, somebody said they're not seeing my screen. Let me make sure that you can. 1 second. It says stop sharing, so it was sharing before. All right, let me stop the sharing and start it again and do it to full screen desktop. Maybe you'll see it then. All right, let me know if you can see the screen now. Just type a yes if you can see the screen now. Okay. Let's see. Somebody says no. Alison says no. You're not seeing the screen. Let me do a quick test here, Alison, and see what's happening. All right, Javon says he's seeing no. Okay. All right, so here we go now. So we'd expand the tag. And it's the P tag we want to expand, because that's the one that we're working on, this text here. And just as we did with a single line before, we're going to type the word style. And then color. All right, let's try blue. So style. All right, so Sasha, you can see. Alison, you still can't see? Okay, you're not sure why you're not seeing. Okay. All right. I'm sure the replay will help you to see that. But what we're doing now, I'm gonna paste the code that I'm doing for the answer in the text message area so that you can at least read it there, all right? Because you seem to be able to at least send the messages there. So I'll do that. All right, so I'm gonna put in the color attribute as we did before. All right, so I'm just gonna copy the code in. So you can see the example of how I solved that. Oops, I did the wrong thing. I did paste. Let's copy that again. And go over to the chat window and paste this in. All right, so just remember those X's are just some filler text to make the paragraph longer, okay? It's not a part of the code. The only code is in the angle brackets, right? Between the angle, the P, style equal color blue, semicolon, close quotation, all right? So that's the paragraph. When I said change the color of one of the paragraphs, you would look for the paragraph tag, right? Because unless you have a paragraph tag, it's not a paragraph. Even if before your eyes it looks like a paragraph, we're talking in terms of how a web browser would see it. Because when a web browser like Google Chrome sees the HTML codes, I remember we said earlier, all these codes in the angle brackets are HTML codes. When a web browser like Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge sees that, it interprets that a certain way. So whenever I ask a question like change the color of a paragraph, it's paragraph as the browser would see it, marked by a code. All right, is that clear? Clear, everyone? All right, great. Okay, so that's pretty much how we refer to them for the purpose of identifying. Okay, awesome. Right, so everybody is getting the gist of it. Okay. All right, wonderful. Now, one thing that we do want to do, at least for today, apart from, I mean, we're learning new tags, but one of the probably more exciting tags, I guess, for new students is they want to add, you know, an image to the web page so it can sort of more look like a web page, you know, if that makes sense. Not just being text. So let's do that, okay? One of the first things we're gonna do is we're gonna use an image that exists somewhere else on the internet, all right? So let me show you what we'll do first. So what I would do, let me find a picture on the internet. So let me go to Google. And since we're talking about food earlier, let me just type in pizza. All right, sorry if I'm torturing anybody right now, but this must be done for the sake of education. All right, we'll find a nice juicy one too. Well, I guess we can just start at the first one. Why go any further than there? So let me just click on that one. And I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to copy image address. And just to show you what I've actually copied, I'm going to paste it in the chat area so you can see. Locate with the image that I used there. So let's see. All right, it's a pretty long address there. Let me just see if I can paste this back again. All right. All right, so every image has a location address on the internet and a file name that it will end with. Sorry, I don't want to go back here. Let me go back to CodePen. Right, so what you want to do when you're using an image that you link into from some other website, another website you own, or somebody that you just want to refer to the image. So for example, it could be an image of a celebrity or a famous news person, but you don't want to go to the trouble of downloading it and saving it on your folder. Because when we start uploading files and creating files, we're going to be working with folders as well, okay? But let's say you don't want to do all of that, and it saves you space on all of that kind of thing. You can just simply link to somebody else's image there, and you're not actually copying it, you're just pointing to it so that it shows up in the browser. All right, so let's go back to CodePen, and we're going to put some space here in the body, between the body here, so we can type it, right? Let's type some text here. Is a delicious pizza. All right, so we know what's coming up next. All right. So the tag that we're going to use to get our image in is called the source tag, but it's really img src. So it would start like this. So you open an angle bracket, img src, and I'm going to paste this in the chat in case you can't see it too clearly, right? Now the src is for source, and then you type an equal sign, and in between these quotation, you should have the location of the image, right? Which is a very long string of thing right here. Sorry it looks so untidy, but yeah, probably try and find a shorter one in the future, but Just want to get it a bit tidied up and just go back up to the top so you can see the starting of the code. Right. So you put in the image location in between the first quotation mark, which is, as you can see, the first quotation mark is there. And then, sorry, apologies for all of this long, lengthy code. Could have probably linked to an image with a less lengthy address. But as long as you're just copying it from a website, you don't have to worry about getting anything wrong because it will be there. And then there's that last quotation, all right? And you can pretty much end it with a closing tag there, right? So it's all a self-contained tag. Now, the basic format of it, let me type it in the chat area so everybody can see what the basic format is so you can know how to use it in the future. So you have the open angle bracket, IMG, SRC, and you have an equal sign. And then I'm just putting a quotation here with space, you know, something goes in between there, right? Then you have the slash and closing tag, right? So that is how to link an image. All right, so you can have fun and actually play around with this now. So you could maybe grab an image from Facebook and just kind of make a little mock-up profile of yourself. Like you're kind of trying to make a new Facebook profile page on your own by just linking to your image. So you don't have to download it and just kind of put a bit of text there and try and structure it and make it look like a little Facebook profile thing, maybe with name, alias or whatever, kind of your own social media kind of page. That would be probably an interesting activity you could try. So so now that you know how to link to an image, just try to grab an image and link to one in your own CodePen. I'll give you about 3 minutes to do that.
Sir? Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Hearing me. I'm not getting the picture on the preview.
Okay. Just have the image location copied exactly. All right. You can try another image if that doesn't work for some reason. Maybe one that's less complicated. Let me go to Pinterest, for example. Pinterest has a lot of images. And you can play around with this with any image you'll find online. You just need to be able to right click and copy the image location. Let me go on to Pinterest. And I can just try something there. All right. Okay, let me try this one. All right, everyone's still able to see my screen? Because I think I'm screen sharing now. Copy image address. All right, let me go back to my CodePen. And let me just type a label here and call it fitness with an H1 tag. It's kind of weird having a pizza above the image of a fitness man, but we work with it. IMG SRC equal. Short address. So try this example. I'm gonna paste it in so you can see it just added the image to the page. Now, of course, the formatting of the words is all over the place, but we're not doing with the formatting of the words right now. I'm just giving a preview of how you would use the image linking feature. All right, so let me copy this example here so you can actually use it as a reference. The tag first. Please mute your mic if you're not speaking. Somebody needs to mute their mic or phone. Thank you very much. Grab the text here. Copy. And I'll share this example with you in the chat. It's actually a much shorter image address, so it doesn't look as confusing. The top one worked, but that was a pretty lengthy image address. So that's the actual code I used to link it in our web page example. So you can copy that to practice with it. Go ahead and practice that just to see that it works, and then you can find your own image and try to practice the image transfer by linking to somebody else's image on the site. Okay? All right, we'll officially pause the recording here, but you can actually continue and do that exercise right now.